Hi y'all! Today we're going to be learning about writing expressions. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to translate between verbal and algebraic expressions. Verbal expressions are the words, so however you would actually write out an expression, while algebraic is using those numbers and variables. That's what we think of when we think of math. Go ahead, pause the video, and copy down your vocabulary. Let's get started with example 1. We need to write a verbal expression for each algebraic expression. So we're going to start off with the numbers and variables like you can see below, and we need to write out in words how we would say this. So what I always start with is identifying any of the operations in the expression. And here, I know when there's a number in front of a variable, or when I have the product of two, that this is multiplication. I also know that I need to read this out loud as a power. So I'm going to look back at my vocabulary for that. And now I'm going to read it. This says the product of 3 and q to the 4th power. So now I'm just going to write that out. So I have the product of 3 and q to the 4th power. And I'm actually going to write out the words to the, and I have 4th and power. I'm going to go ahead and box this answer. And that's all we're doing. You're just writing out in words. All right. Let's go to the next example. We still have the same instructions, so we are going to go ahead and first identify any of our operations. Again, I see a product here, so I know that's multiplication. And this time, we also have an addition symbol. All right. Oh, I also missed that there is another power here, so I'm going to keep that in mind. Next, I'm going to read it aloud. It says the product of 5 and z to the 7th power plus 16. So that's what I'm going to write. The product of 5 and z to the 7th power, again, write that out, to the 7th power plus 16. That's it. Box that final answer. You can always have someone check this by giving them your verbal expression and seeing if when they write it out, they get back what you started with. We're going to switch things up. This time, we're going to start with the words, and we need to write out what it looks like with numbers and variables. So we always start with a cold read. 10 less than the product of 7 and f. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through and circle any terms that seem mathematically relevant. Well, less than seems important. The product of seems important. That's pretty much what I've got. And now I'm going to go through and annotate. Annotations are just little notes to myself. I like to underline all my numbers that are important. So 10 is important here. Less than I know is minus, but I also know that it's special because it's a turnaround word. Less than and more than both tell us that however our expression is written verbally, when we write it in our numbers and variables, the number at the beginning goes at the end of our numbers and variables. And you'll see that in a moment. So let me keep going. The product of, I know product is multiplication. And then I have 7 and then my variable f. Those are what I'm going to be multiplying together. So let's go ahead and get started with this turnaround word, or this 10, excuse me. Well, we know 10 is at the end because there's a turnaround word. So I'll have my 10. And this less than has to go in front of the 10. I'm going to keep going. The product of 7 and f. Well, I know the product of these two is going to go at the beginning. So that's just 7f. And this is my algebraic expression, numbers and words. Again, this turnaround word is the tricky part. Example 4, start with a cold read. Mr. Frazier distributes 175 gold membership ID cards and 40 platinum membership ID cards to the freshman class. Write an algebraic expression to represent this situation. So what I'll do next is, just like in the last one, go through and circle anything that might be important mathematically or underline. I see 175 gold membership IDs. That's important. And 40 platinum membership ID cards, also important to the freshman class. All right, so before I can get started, I need to know what these gold membership and platinum membership, I need to have something mathematical to represent them. And we know a variable can represent anything unknown. So I'm going to start with that gold and give it the variable G, and then the platinum and give it the variable P. I also know that this word and here is telling me that I'm going to be adding something. Now, what we're going to do next is define our two variables. So we have said that G equals gold membership ID cards. The reason we're doing this is because we might forget as we work through problems what these variables mean, and we just want to have a place to go back and reference. So we know G is gold membership and P was our platinum membership. I'm just going to write this out so we have it available. And now we're going to get started. So starting at the very beginning of this problem, we said that he first distributed out 175 gold memberships. And, so that's our plus, he gave out 40 platinum membership ID cards. This expression represents the situation. So we've gone from our verbal, or our word problem in this case, to algebraic. Go ahead and try this last problem and bring your answers and questions to class tomorrow.